All right, we're recording. So one possibility is doing one more meeting before May 30th. Yes, May 30th, the deadline, and then obviously setting up a schedule for evaluating and interviewing eligibility candidate applicants. So we usually do that in two or depending on how many applicants, obviously in 2 or 3 meetings.
So weird. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So what's any thoughts or comments from the committee members on the need? So that would be a total of say 4 meetings between now and the the end of June, say. We'd like to evaluate.
Can I ask, unless other members disagree, I think if we have this meeting tonight, I don't see another reason to meet before the applications come in. And I would think, I know it's like a minor lift. Maybe we only need to do 2 meetings, Tom, to do the eligibility applications when they come in. So, my suggestion would be, can we meet in June twice to go over the eligibility applications? And then can you remind the committee when the next one is due?
September 28th. September 26th.
Okay. I just don't want to
I don't want to set I think that's a very reasonable proposal, Rob. And we can always try to squeeze in an extra meeting if we can't do it in 2, but so it's also May is a busy month with town meeting, and I expect town meeting will go multiple nights, and we also have, for town meeting members, we also have a special town meeting in June, and
true. Do we know what those dates are?
Yeah,
we do. So
yeah, June the June meeting is June 16th, unless is that correct, Cheryl? Yeah, June 16th.
Is that do we think that's only for the MBTA vote? So do we think that would only be one night?
It's also
it's a Monday, huh?
It's East Milton Square overlay zoning, and I think a flood zone zoning. I don't know if they have other things. So
do they have another? Is there another date set for if there's a second night or anything, or do you think they'll cover it in one?
I think it could. I think it's the same. It's designed for the same sequence of Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm tentatively holding Tuesday.
Okay.
And I think the unknown about the June 16th is whether or not, like if anything gets sent back in the May town meeting, is it ready to come back to the June meeting? Like all that type of stuff.
So then can we just review the May date? So it's the 5th and is it the 5th and the 6th?
5th, 6th, and 8th.
The next week. It's the 8th, actually. Wow.
I think it's the 5th, 6th. No, it's the 5th.
That's the 5th, 6th, and then I think it goes to the next week.
5th, 6th, 7th, 12th, 13th, and 14th are the 6 days that have been set aside.
Okay. Well, let's hope it doesn't go that long.
I have the warrant
okay.
Here, so.
They're doing Wednesday this year for some reason.
Yeah, they did that last year too, Julia. Yeah.
So for all that reason, that's, I'm sure many of us are town meeting members. So, I'm just trying to be cognizant of people's time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't doubt if it goes, a few nights.
So why don't we look at the week of May 19th and the May 26th for our 2 meetings? That gives us time to read the the eligibility applications and come together, and also gives us time to invite the applicants and arrange
Do
their
you
schedule.
do you mean June or May? Because May 30th is the end of the eligibility.
I mean, I'm sorry. Yes.
June.
Yes, of course I
So
mean.
so June. So
Sorry.
June. So do we typically meet on Mondays now?
No,
No.
this is a unusual.
Okay. So what is our date usually that we meet?
It varies.
It has varied. We've
Okay.
done a lot of Wednesdays, I think. We've done some
Okay.
Thursdays, we've done Tuesdays, so it really has varied. So
Okay.
June, I will just say from my personal schedule, I cannot do, I'm out of the country until June 8th. So that first week in June, I could not do. So, but starting June 9th, I'm back. So we could do something June 11th, June 18th, somewhere in that range.
Well, does everyone, I mean, could it work that week, the 9th through the 13th? Could we do one that week and then do one the 23rd through the 27th?
I'm going to be gone the week of, starting June 6th and back, tentatively back on the 22nd or 23rd.
Oh.
So I have 2 weeks out of the middle of June that I won't be available.
Okay. So let's try to, I think you're gonna probably
We're gonna have to
probably miss one of them at least. So
Right.
let's
Yeah.
What about the 11th and 25th? Just to pick 2 dates.
I like
That's good.
one's my birthday, but that's fine.
Uh-oh.
Which
Happy
one?
birthday.
25th.
So-
I'm gonna be 39 that day. No, I'm kidding.
My mother who lived to 99 never passed 39.
I have found 42 to be a good age, and I'm
42?
sticking with it. And
42 is a
the
good one.
only complication is my daughter says, "Mom, the math is no longer making sense." I don't listen to her anymore. She didn't listen
yeah.
to me after about
Yeah.
21, so I think it's fair.
I'll take
42
42. 42 is good
is a
too.
good age,
Yeah,
Rob.
it's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
if it works
Perfect.
for you, stick
Yep,
with it.
that works for me. Yep.
Okay, I have a bit of surgery on the 25th. I am told I'll be good on the 26th. So if you want to do the 26th, I can do that, but not the 25th.
Okay. So the 11th.
26th, just, is that
Planning
planning board
board.
meeting?
Yeah.
What about the 24th, Linda and the group?
Yes, the 24th. I think the 24th will be fine.
Okay.
Why don't we do
Why don't we-
the
11th and the 24th then?
yeah,
And
let's
then we
do
get
that.
2 different days. We get a Wednesday and a Tuesday. I think that's okay. If that's okay with folks.
And that basically means we would schedule the eligibility
Yes.
people for those
Yes.
2 dates.
Yep.
Don't you think we could knock those out? Like I mean, depending on what we get, obviously. But
Yeah.
then that would be nice because then July and August obviously is always tough for people's vacations and everything.
Yeah. It just would, I mean, I think we can definitely do it too. It just might mean it's slightly longer meetings. That's all. Yeah. Than if 3, but it's only 2 nights instead of 3 nights. So there's a upside to doing it over 2.
Okay. So
All
we skip May and then the 11th and the 24th.
The only
Is that,
thing we
yeah,
might,
go ahead, Jenny.
well, it's just we might want to, and we had some discussion about this last time, was we didn't assume that everybody needed to be seen. And so there was some discussion about, for instance, the affordable housing. Do we need, do we necessarily need a presentation again? So for the repeat ones, unless it's a different project altogether, I would suggest that it's not necessary to invite them back.
Could we, I'm wondering if we could have, like the chair and the vice chair, Jenny, you guys look at the applications, and if you think they've already come before us once, then like you guys could just say, hey, this is deemed eligible. You don't need to come before the board, right? And then I think if you could weed out everyone else that's like new or whatever, then you would schedule the 2. I think that would be that makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that could make sense. My only concern is about open meeting law. I don't know if us making that decision is consistent with open meeting law. But I'm not an expert on that, so Kathleen or somebody might have to advise us on that, but we could
Okay.
always, I mean, I think one way to do that, Rob, would be for us to come to the first meeting, the June 11th meeting, with a recommendation. And if the committee said, no, we do want to see a group that you're recommending that we're not recommending to see,
That makes sense. Yeah.
then we
that makes
invite them,
sense.
then we invite them the second. So it's not a binding thing we're deciding, it's just
Yeah.
a recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
maybe that makes sense. Like the three of you, I mean, to be honest, the whole committee could look at it, right? Like all of them, and then you guys will kind of filter them out. We come the 11th, and maybe you
We could
address
ask
that
people-
first.
We can ask people to send a comment to Julia, and just say, I want to see this group, or I don't, whatever, and just, we could take that under consideration.
Makes
So.
sense.
Okay, all right, so June 11th and June 25th are in the books. Did I
Oh, you
say
got that
right?
one wrong. 24th.
24th.
Yeah, June 24th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Sorry, Linda. So June 11th and June 24th. Julia, that's okay with you as well?
Oops.
Julia has left the building.
Oh, no, sorry. Did you ask me? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, okay, good. All right, so an approval of minutes, the minutes of the March 19th 2020 meeting were distributed. Any comments, any motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second, any comments? All in favor? I guess I have to do roll call. Yeah, sorry. Jenny?
Yep.
Linda?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Kathleen?
I am here, back. We're done. We gave the permit.
Oh, perfect. We're just voting on the May 19th minutes.
Which I'm not sure I was there for that.
Okay, we can check that, Julia. I don't know if you have them in front of you. Was Kathleen? So
Was Kathleen at the last meeting? Yeah, she was.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
So
good.
okay, you're voting in the affirmative.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, were any of us not there?
The only person missing was Joe Duffy.
Okay, perfect. So no abstentions were needed. Good, perfect. All right. Next item is discussion of payment of invoices. I think this is Pete.
That appears pretty much to be the same as the item 7. So I don't know if we take them together or whatever.
Yes.
Well, we can have one discussion.
Yes.
Covering both those items.
So,
Number 7 and number 3 are the same.
Number 3 are pretty much the same.
Okay.
My concern is we've gotten a lot of feedback from people applying for payment that it's taken an extraordinarily amount of time and having to go back and forth and things like that. The way the accounting looks at it is the invoice has to be paid by the applicant before they will reimburse. The problem is a lot of these small groups or, whatever they are, they have a hard time coming up with a paid invoice, coming up with the money to pay it. The other one that we had a lot of trouble with was the observatory, because the state had to pay the bills, and to get the state to pay the bill and get an acknowledgement that they're paid and then submit it was an extraordinarily long time. I was hoping that maybe we could discuss with accounting and maybe with the town administrator there, because he's been very helpful and supportive of us, the notion of they submit an invoice and acknowledge or certify that the work has been done you know, per what they're submitting for an invoice and try to get it paid ahead of having to submit a proof of payment.
Yeah, I mean I think I'd be interested to know. It feels to me that I wonder what other CPCs in other towns do, because this feels like, you know, we're not the only ones funding, you know, organizations with tight budget funds and, you know, without the capacity to pay the invoice in advance. So it would seem like this is a policy that could use some revision. But so Pete,
I'd be happy to look in.
we haven't had a discussion with the town accountant specifically on this, or
No.
we have? No, we
No.
haven't. And Kathleen?
Some of the times, well, I've been really late on the grant agreements, but most of the time we give the money to the organization and then they use it to pay the invoices and then just send us back the evidence that they've spent the money in the right place.
The only thing that we've done that with is with the Affordable Housing Trust. Everything else has been a reimbursement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said, that's kind of a change. If we wanted to do it, we've sort of changing the grant agreements, you know, that we had as a draft. You know, I mean, obviously, you don't want to make sure that people are spending the money in the right place, but
Right.
it makes sense to front load it.
Well, this is not really front loading it. I mean, it's not my definition of front loading if they're showing us an invoice, right?
Oh, yeah. But if we have to show that they show us the invoice, I think that's fine, as opposed
Right.
to they paid it. They can't pay it until they have the money from us. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same. So
think more
Pete, should you and I try to meet with the town accountant and talk this through? Would that be your recommendation, or and maybe
I would be happy to do that. I'm wondering if, you know, some outreach to Stewart, maybe.
Yeah,
He could
yeah, I
give
was
some
gonna say-
advice on how other communities do it.
I was gonna say in advance of that meeting,
Yes. Yeah.
some research I think would be.
And I'd be happy to talk to him about that and just see how
Okay.
other communities do it.
Yep.
It's an undue burden, I think, on people to, you know, pay.
Agree. All
Yeah,
right, so
absolutely.
that's, I don't think we need a vote on that. I think if everybody's okay with that, I think we'll Pete and I will do some research. One of us will talk to Stewart, and
And we'll set up a meeting
then
with
we'll
the
set up a
town.
meeting with Amy. Okay, all right, great. Two
Easy.
items, 3 and 7 off the,
Easy peasy.
man, that's great, that's great.
Hey,
All right,
I don't know if this,
Jenny, yeah,
but I'm looking at Pete's your spreadsheet that you did, which is helpful in terms of that shows the balance of,
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to bring this up, but there are quite a few organizations who basically have not spent or been reimbursed or whatever, and they are in the process, the funding that was granted to them. And I'm wondering what we should do about that, whether it's, there should be some oversight or some, you know, is there reasons why they haven't been paid? And whether there should be some follow-up, and maybe this is a different agenda item altogether, but it seemed like it was related to payment.
Did they
yeah.
get, I'm just curious, Jenny, did those projects happen and then they weren't reimbursed, or are they just projects that are just waiting in the wings?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Pete, you might know. I'm just looking at.
Yes.
that was-
I think they're projects that haven't gone far enough yet.
Right,
You know,
right.
some
But I
haven't
think
started
The
or-
bridge project.
the
and-
bridge project, the town basketball court, I know is one that, right? And
But
I
those,
mean,
you know, some of those that were awarded last year, you know, they just got the money and they're starting to spend it. The first year ones, the bridge project and the town lockup, you know, those
there-
really just haven't
yeah.
gotten
So
going.
so I'm curious if, and maybe Kathleen might know this, is if we have a project maybe after 1 year and it hasn't get funded, that's kind of easy to understand. But some of these that are like, for instance, the bridge, to me, I'm like, why is this taking so long? Could we reach out to those folks and say, hey, can you come back to the committee and give us an update, right? To understand where you are? I
Yeah.
think that may be valuable, like, especially after like a 2-year period or something.
Yeah, I mean, the bridge project is actually a specific one that I reached out to John Kiernan recently on and did get an update on that. So it's still moving forward. It's just much slower than I think they would have liked, but it's largely on the northeastern side, the working, there's a lot of sort of pro bono labor involved in that.
Yeah.
It's sort of a moving, several moving pieces to that so we do have a response, but I think generally that's a good idea, Rob, to some of these folks, some of these applicants will be coming before us with new applications and using that opportunity to
The Kelly Field dugouts was another one. So Rob, you probably noticed of that.
Well, it's going to happen in August. So the biggest problem with that one is that it had to go out to public bid, Jenny. So it's now gone out to public bid. The park commissioners now have approved that contract. Pete actually helped with the RFP on that. And so we've awarded the bid. The park commissioners awarded the bid, but it's waiting because, of course, we have spring sports. We didn't want to do the construction to delay the spring sports. So it's going to happen in like the first week in August, somewhere around there. So that's the update on that.
So Cheryl and Wendy have their hands up. I'm a little reluctant to get too deep in this because this is not on the agenda. So
Tom, I just want to ask if you can let Kathleen in the meeting. Kathleen's bumped out and is not being let back in. That's all
I can't let anybody in because I can't see them. But Julia, can you let Kathleen in?
She got thrown out.
Well, she's kind of riffraff, so she should have been
riffraff. Gotta keep the riffraff.
Right, misbehaving.
So Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, big picture, I'm wondering if it would make sense for us to add as a requirement to our applicants that they report to us on a regular basis. I think that that's pretty much standard protocol for a lot of grants, that especially for ongoing projects, that they expect to have a written report, just an update, like every 6 months or 12 months, whatever we decide would make sense. But I think as far as just documentation and transparency, it's a relatively easy ask, but it's just really important to keep everybody in the loop.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wendy. I think what I'm going to suggest we do, since this is not on the agenda, is that I think this is a good activity or a good agenda item for us to grapple with over the summer in between the two funding rounds, right? So once we do the June meetings to dispense with our advice and whatever recommendations that we have to the eligibility applicants, and before we get immersed in the actual final applications at the September 26th deadline, we have a window there. And I think this is we've been talking about this come up a couple times, obviously. And I think now that we're in year 4, it's so relevant because we have multiple projects. It's hard, it's without a formal structure, like Wendy's suggesting, it's hard to keep track of them all. I think a number of us have certain details in our heads about certain projects, but that's no way to really, formalize this. So
maybe it'll be July or August.
Yeah,
Tom,
let's
basically
do a summer meeting and have this as at least one of the agenda items that we spend some time with setting up that system
Makes sense.
or formalizing that system.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, all right, I just don't want to violate open meeting law here and go too far down that path. So,
Yeah.
All right. Debrief from bonding discussion at last meeting. So we had a great conversation, I thought, with Stuart. Great attendance by the town, the relevant town staff, town administrator, town accountants, town treasurer. I walked away for one, just feeling encouraged that it's less intimidating than I might have imagined going into it. So, but I want to just open the floor to see what people's reactions were. Wendy, is your hand still up from the previous?
No, I just forgot to lower it.
That's okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Pete?
I agree with Tom. It was a very good and thorough discussion, and I think it did a lot of good for us and for, the town financial officials. I know we're going to get at least 2 or 3 proposals this year that are going to ask for bonding. So that will be a huge decision for us, is whether we want to start bonding these projects. And so I don't know at what point we as a committee are going to discuss whether we want to consider bonding, or if we're going to wait till proposals come in or whatever.
Can I ask,
I think we have to wait for proposals, but I think I agree with you, Pete. I know of at least one that I think, obviously the town the Wharf Park project, I think, is going to be one of them. I don't know the others
Fire
necessarily.
station
Fire station potentially. Yep. Right.
and
So-
possibly Peverly Park.
Right. Okay. All right. So I think it was well timed in that sense that we now at least have had that meeting. Town staff, I think, is briefed. But I think we're going to have to deal with it as it comes and make that evaluation. Cheryl and then Jenny.
I agree. It was a really informative and helpful meeting. I think in terms of policy position, maybe we consider what percentage of our average grant making can go towards bonding. Because that was one of the significant things that I think I took away from that, is that going to come out of our future ability to make grants. So I wouldn't want to see a large chunk of it, of our available funding, tied up for years and years on end. I'd like to make sure that there's enough funding available for, projects each year. So I'd like to kind of understand maybe what others have done who've used the bonding. Like, did they set a percentage of their total? So those are my thoughts right now.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. Cheryl, just another question for Stuart, as Pete and I go back to him on some of these other issues, but I think that's a good, if we could get, I know they have, they had a number of how many towns have bonded historically, and it'd be interesting to see what the range of percentages in terms of the revenue stream that towns do. I guess I would guess it's a fair range, but maybe there's some averages or medians that we could take a look at.
Just to follow up on that, Tom, if once we do get some applications, if we calculate, we're able to calculate if we accepted those, what would that do to next year and the following year, et cetera. And so that we can have a conversation about that in terms of policy with the actual examples in hand.
One of the things I'm also writing down is Stuart, I believe, promised to send that spreadsheet. That was an interactive spreadsheet to Joanna and Amy. I don't know if they've received that. I don't believe I've seen a copy of that. So I will, I don't know. Anyways, I can check with town staff if they have it, but we should have that in our possession too, because that, as Stuart described it, that was kind of a plug and play type spreadsheet. All right, Jenny and then Rob.
Actually, that was my point, was that we hadn't received that yet. And that was, I think Joanna had agreed to do it and follow up on it. So that's a, a product that's due to us to take a look at it, because that's sort of our base. That's our starting point of understanding what the potential is. You okay, Tom?
I'm have just a lingering colds. Sorry about that. So yes. All right.
Just,
So I'll follow up with Joanna to see if she's seen it and or Stuart if
right.
it hasn't been delivered to
And
us.
then I think, well, yeah, this is sort of the horse before the cart, or I'm not sure, the cart's before the horse or something in terms of sort of the policies that we want to put in place before we see actual applicants, or whether the applicants actually drive the policies that we might think about adopting.
Good question.
So I don't have an answer to that, but it's just out there. If we expect 3, then obviously I'm not sure we can do 3, or, we could do 3, but at a minimal basis. So it's like,
Right. Plus, we have to see the spreadsheet too. We have to run the numbers too.
we're starting with, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Rob and Kathleen.
Yeah, so I guess I'd just be curious of the details. Like I think it's positive when you have a few that want to bond, because you also want to make sure that you have a few projects so that it's a large enough number that you can bond over so many years. Because I don't think it's a good idea to bond for a project like just Peverly Park, right? So I think, I mean, I think as we get into the complication and the details, we're just going to want to see the math, Tom. And like to Cheryl's point is like, how much of a percentage a year is that taken out? And then I do think as a board, we've been very fair over the years, and I would like to see us continue that to like, let's just say if we, bond for a parks project, but then we have a historic project, I think the remaining pie or whatever still would be nice to split that. And we would hate, it wouldn't be a good thing for us if we said like half of our budget every year would be to bonding. So I don't know, Tom, what what other towns have done where they've given so much of their percentage up, but I think it would be helpful to understand how other towns deal with it. And then I know I've spoken to a few of you in the past though, as well, is if there is some of these projects, like for instance, the firehouse, like if there's a big number of a bonding project, is it potentially where you could raise the CPC for a potential number of years and then bring it back? I'm just, I think the option's there at some point, but
just to be clear, I mean, that is theoretically conceivable, but it does require a vote of the voters at the time on both ends of that transaction, right? The voters would have to vote to raise it and then to lower it. So
you would need a vote. So you couldn't, I'm just curious. So you couldn't have a vote that says we're going to raise the CPC double for 5 years. You would have to double it and then vote again.
Yes, correct. So
Yikes.
so you couldn't actually make that promise to voters because it would be dependent on a future vote to lower it.
That's kind of unfortunate now, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
That's the way it's structured. Yeah.
Okay, understood.
Kathleen, mute. You're on mute. How many people, while Kathleen's getting off mute, how many people think Kathleen dresses up more for her zoning committee than our meetings? I mean, I'm not.
Are you taking a poll, Tom? Or
I'm not. I'm
There
not
we go.
complaining. I'm not.
There she goes.
I was dressed like this all day. Just saying.
Perfect. I deserve whatever I get back from you.
Well, I'm working today. Yes. So
Kathleen
there
usually
is on
has
the
like
database.
a ship in the background. Like a
What's
huge
that?
ship in the background.
There's a huge what ship?
Wendy has one.
A ship.
Wendy
Yeah.
has one.
Wendy
No,
has-
Kathleen always has like some kind of huge ship
Oh,
in
that's
her
a picture
background.
from something. This is the trash in my office. Which is a picture of my dad with all the astronauts. That's a good one, but yeah, and a lot of trash. Anyway, could I just say that there is a website, page on the website at the CPC that lists all the bonded projects. And
Yeah.
in my experience, the expensive ones are usually like redoing an entire field. Those are expensive. And town halls are very popular for
Yep.
CPC projects.
Yeah.
So
Needham did their
you
town
know, and
hall.
those run, you know, $2 to $5 million bucks. And so there's even like small towns like Drake has done bonding for a couple of projects. They don't, their CPC money's got to be smaller than ours, I would suspect. And as I said, you know, so there you can have them for $1 million, you can have them for smaller. There's
Yeah.
some that are like only $75,000, which seems sort of funny to bond for that, but if you're a small enough town, you're gonna have to bond for everything.
Yes.
Um,
I mean, that was the
so-
surprising thing about Stewart's report, I thought.
yeah, I mean, there's some towns you know, they don't have any money, so anything they're gonna do for more than $35,000 has got to be bonded. So that's something to keep in consideration when we're thinking it. And I just don't know that a policy is particularly good. I think you have to wait to see what you get. You know, the fire station is probably after Peverly and after Wharf Park, because that would be the Atherton, and they have to build the one in East Milton first. And
Right.
that doesn't have any CPA money.
Right.
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 Right. Nor is
Um,
it eligible for CPA money.
Right.
Yep.
Nor is the restoration of the existing fire station, which would be a silly idea. So I think we can't really say that we have a policy until we know what the ask is.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's a pretty extensive list on the website of, you know, projects that have been bonded.
Yeah, I was impressed that over half of the CPA communities have bonded.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Rowley's got to have a lot less money than we do, and they did the Girl Scout camp and a couple of open space purchases with but with bonding. So it seems to be something that, you know, lots of people have to do.
All right, so I think there's a couple of homework things, getting the bonding spreadsheet, getting a range of percentages in terms of the revenue stream that goes towards paying off the bonds. So I will endeavor to get both of those from Stewart or Chase at the coalition, and check with Joanna to see maybe indeed she's in possession of that spreadsheet, but if not, remind the coalition that they owe us that deliverable. So, all right. Moving on, final approval of a report to the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. Not sure what this is, but it's on their agenda. So,
Isn't that our annual report that we have to do every year?
The CP3?
Yeah.
Okay. Pete, do you have an Pete, you're on mute, I believe. Yeah. Pete, you're on mute.
He's talking, but he's on mute.
I've updated that every year that we've needed to, and we will do again probably in September. There are a total of 3 reports that have to be filed with the Department of Revenue. The town does 2 of them because they're strictly financial, and then the one which updates the status of projects I've been doing, and it'll be due in September, so I'll do it.
Okay. Okay, so this is premature in terms of.
Yeah, I don't know how it got on the agenda, but that's fine.
Okay. And Julia, am I missing anything? Is there something that you wanted to bring to our attention? Julia, on the agenda
Sorry, I
item?
was muted.
Yep, sorry.
What exactly are you asking?
So on agenda item 5, the final approval of the report to the Department of Revenue, Pete was saying he usually does that in September. Is there anything that you're aware of that we should be aware of as a committee?
Not to my knowledge. I put it on the agenda according to what your desires were, so.
Okay. And none of us are quite sure why it's on the agenda, so that's the reason for the confusion, I guess, so. Okay, all
Okay.
right, so we'll just keep, we'll check back in September, Pete, and thank you for staying on top of this. Final approval of warrant articles. The warrant's out, so I don't know, I know this meeting was rescheduled, maybe at that time we needed to approve the warrant articles, but I'm not sure. Do we need a formal vote to approve the warrant articles? I'm not, I mean, they're already, the warrant's printed. I'm holding it in my hand.
What do we do if we don't like them?
We have
Vote
a
against
unanimous
it.
recommendation, unanimous vote on both articles from the warrant committee. Jenny and I had a very pleasant 2 hours in front of the warrant committee, and I think it was 2 hours, right, Jenny? They asked lots of great questions. It was a really good exchange, I thought.
You were gonna do a report to town meeting, right? Like you
So
did
yeah,
last time?
I developed a PowerPoint that was initially, it's evolved a little bit, from Rob's first year town meeting PowerPoint.
Mhm.
And then, I adapted it last year. I've adapted it further this year. I've used it now twice, or we've used it twice, once at the warrant committee, and then Pete and Jenny and I all appeared before the select board the week after the warrant committee meeting, and because the select board had some concerns or questions about our funding. So that essentially is going to be the same PowerPoint that I would plan to use at town meeting on next week. So Rob and Pete. So Rob first.
Yeah, so I guess my only, as you said, you presented to the warrant, you presented to the select board. They had numbers of questions, so it only be you're going to do the presentation, Tom, to the town meeting. So then, if town meeting members, if you go under the same scrutiny, right, and town meeting members come to you, I just hope that we're not under fire. I mean, luckily every year, everything usually passes by a vote or whatnot. But I think you'll have to be prepared as we keep going on to defend the process and everything. And so I mean, I guess at that point, just be ready, because town meeting might come to you with questions of the same kind of thing. And I would imagine that as the chair, you'll be there to defend the projects and the process and such as well.
Before I call on Pete, I just to fill in everybody, and just because I'm not sure you watched with your viewing pleasure. It wasn't the highest rated show on our appearances before the warrant committee of the select board, but there was, like I said, in the warrant committee, overall it was a very good, I thought, back and forth and discussion. There were one of the common themes in both the warrant committee and select board. It wasn't coming from every individual on those boards, of course, but one of the common themes was concern about our support or lack of support, perceived lack of support for Peverly Park project. So there was some feedback we got both from warrant committee members and select board members that why are we not fully funding Peverly Park? Why are we making them privately fundraise? We kind of our attitude about this, or not attitude, but our response to this was to really hit them with facts. Peverly Park is the third highest funding of any single project we've ever funded. It has $365,000 in awards from CPC. If this year's award is approved, that's the third highest for any individual project. The other theme, and not to rehash everything, but the other theme was we're funding too many studies and plans. And that was kind of a theme. So,
but Tom, on that point, I
let me
think,
just finish. Let
yeah,
me
go
just
ahead.
finish, Rob.
Go ahead.
We hit them with facts on that too.
Right.
9.6% of our funding overall has been for studies and plans. And we could break that out further because studies and plans are different. Several of those, Beverly Park most notably, has turned into a project. And many, there's other examples of the plans that have turned into projects. So that was that was kind of some of the pushback, and I'll let Pete and Jenny add to that. But so Pete first, and then Rob or Jenny, depending on who wants to talk. Yeah, Pete.
Well, I raised my hand, Tom, to ask you to brief people on what the major issues were, and I think you've done that, quite well. I would say that Tom was well prepared to address their questions and come back with facts and why we've done what we've done, and emphasize, particularly with Beverly Park, how we funded them 3 years in a row. They felt it was unfair to expect them to do as much private fundraising as they've been saddled with, but they've barely really started their private fundraising, so we'll see what happens there. One thing of concern to me is I mentioned how the town, through its capital projects, had funded so much for the playground planners and have done that before. And they seem to be saying that now with the CPC, the capital project shouldn't do that. And that gets to be into the issue of are we supplementing town funds, or are we supplanting? And they seem to really say that they weren't going to be coming up with capital money for these projects that can be funded by CPC. So it's kind of supplanting, what the town typically did before. I don't know how we deal with that. But I think we did a good job, particularly Tom, in getting through these questions and easing them and things like that. For some reason, both committees seem to have come loaded for bear, and I don't really know why.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I think that's definitely true of the select board. The warrant committee, while we had some tough questioning, when Jenny and I left the room, they voted unanimously to support our recommendations. So I thought that was really, and if you read the write-up in the warrant, the recommendation, it reads very positively. So I think I'm not disagreeing with what Pete just said, but I thought we hopefully, tried to directly answer some of those questions. Jenny, and then Rob, and then Cheryl, and then Kathleen.
Yeah, ditto. I mean, Tom did a great job for sure. And I think you are definitely well prepared for whatever's coming at you. There's no question about it. The only other theme that I would bring up is the why haven't I known more about this before? Sort of question, and sort of I wouldn't say feigning ignorance, but bringing up the fact that the CPC isn't out there enough for everybody to know about it all the time. So I actually thought that the level of questions was a great sign of interest and involvement. Like they were like, "Oh, you guys are making decisions about money, so we want to know more about it. We want to know more about that process."
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great sign in terms of engagement and wanting to be aware of it. But the point of maybe the website could use a little bit of grading and a little bit more sort of public recognition of what the CPC does and the process was all well taken. And I appreciated those questions for sure.
One of the warrant committee members just to that point, I think this is a great idea of putting the applications on the website, making them public, truly public, the actual applications. So I like that, full transparency.
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, so I guess I just have a couple of points, and you guys know this. As an architect and a planner, I will go into planning for projects than just spending money on just projects just because. And so to Tom's point, we've got many examples. So Beverly Park's one of them. We only spent $30,000 or $40,000 on a plan, and then it's become a project, right? And so that's one example of like a good outcome for a project that we planned for, and then we then funded it. And it's a big number there. Wharf Park's another one.
Milton Arts Center too.
Right.
Right.
So there's all these examples that Tom can go back and say, listen, I'm sure plenty of other people on this phone call is the same way. Wouldn't you rather spend a little bit of time planning? We only have so much finite items of like, whether it's architecture or land, that I want to make sure and that we plan for these things correctly with a little bit of money, so that then they set up for better investments over the future, and we're not just haphazardly planning. So I'll say that's one thing. The other thing that Jenny mentioned was communication. So, and I think what this committee does that does really well is that we have put in all this place. We have the eligibility application. We have all these things. So for me, what's hard is to hear back the feedback from like the warrant committee and the select board to say, why aren't we just funding these projects? And that's what's really hard. What are we going to do? Come back to people as says, hey, we're not going to fund you anymore. We're going to fund these other people. So for me, it's also just letting them know that there is this big process in place, and maybe we do need better communication. Maybe at some point our chair needs to go to the select board or whatever, and we kind of fill them in. But I think, I will just say, kudos to this committee, because I think we have a great process in place, and the fact that we go through this, and I think we're very fair with applications and everything that we go through. So to stick to that and stick to our guns, I think it's a good thing to get back and get the information. So I appreciate your advocacy, Tom.
You're on mute.
Thank you, and Cheryl.
Thank you. I agree with Rob. Of course, I think I've advocated for doing the planning work at the wharf pretty strongly, because the budgets are only going to be as good as the planning work that you do in advance. And it doesn't make sense at all to grant funding for a project that hasn't identified what the real costs are going to be. That it's just not the way things are done in the design world. So parks and buildings, that's the norm. You wouldn't give a contractor a blank check just to go do the renovation project. The other thing that I guess, I'm not sure how you came to go to the select board, but
I was invited. We were invited.
And it's just one of those things, like this committee has a role, and I have found, frankly, with other committees that I serve on as a planning board representative, that there are times when the work of those committees are called into question by those who may not agree with some of the decisions. But I appreciate that you, from what it sounds like, that you had to do some defending of the committee. I mean, the committee has a charge, and it's, and if someone doesn't like the decisions of the committee, well, that's okay. But, there's a procedure and process in place. And people, I think, have generally been pretty respectful of the work of committees and their recommendations, respecting the time of each of the people who serve. And so I guess I'm curious what the background is, and maybe this isn't, whether that's something that in advance of that meeting you were given. I know, Tom, you said you were invited, but the select board doesn't actually have a role in this, right? An official role. Right. And so I kind of feel like it's an overstep, or in some ways, maybe not an overstep, but it needs to be clear to the public what the role of the committee is, what the process is, so like, and even the warrant committee and then the town meeting, there's layers of review, but are we going to now have another layer of review, I guess? So just.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Cheryl. And the way that requests, the town administrator reached out to me and said Chair Wells would like me to as chair to come before the select board to explain some of the decisions or recommendations we were making. It was in the context, I guess, of, it was around the time that they were deciding on their recommendations. I don't know if the select board actually has voted. I assume they have by now on their recommendations. I'm not aware of what they might have voted on Articles 34 and 35, but I appreciate some of the kind things people have said in the last few speakers. I do want to say Jenny and Pete. Pete wasn't not there at the warrant committee, but he was there at the select board meeting, and Jenny was there at both. And yes, I did a fair amount of the talking, but I thought we worked well together as a team, and it was also good to have a couple other folks representing this committee and having them hear from all three of us a very united front.
So one of the things, just if I may, I'm concerned about the idea that these funds would be used to supplant town support for other capital improvements. I think one of the exciting things about the things that have been funded are the grassroots efforts. And I would hate to see those go by the wayside as a way to fill budget gaps that otherwise should have been paid for out of operating budgets or capital budgets.
I'm sorry, Cheryl, I cut you
Oh,
off.
it's okay.
One of the things we did, one of the other statistics, we were cranking a lot of numbers leading into these meetings. And one of the other statistics we did is what percentage of our monies, recommended money, funds have been gone to what I termed as town departments or commissions, and what percent are citizen-led initiatives. And it's 60-40, basically. It was 61-39, with the balance, the majority going to town departments, but almost a full 40%. It was 39% exactly, I think.
But is that also because some things, Tom, come from citizens, but then town departments kind of lead that effort, so it's not exactly clear cut.
Yeah, I tried to say who was the initiator of it, right? Even though if it might have gone through a town department, if it was coming from, so yeah, you could probably, some people, you guys might take a look at my splitting of that, but I agree with you, Cheryl. I was trying to make the point that that is, this is a grassroots law, right? This is a bubble up from the bottom, type law. Voters vote for it and they can vote it out. And if we don't kind of are not listening to our residents, that I think is that is short-sighted on the part of this committee. And I think we have been. So anyways, Kathleen, and then we try to move on here.
Call the CPC on the carpet. That happens a lot in other towns. So yeah, it's not surprising. And I also like Cheryl's point about the fact that, we'd like to support efforts that come from the citizens rather than, paying bills that the town would otherwise, have to pay themselves. And I think that's just something we have to kind of pay attention to as the requests come in for the next year. Because, we shouldn't be treated as sort of like the town's slush fund. It's just not, that's not, as you said, Tom, it's not really the point of the exercise. Right. Exactly. And I think a lot of it is trying to remember, we shouldn't be supplanting the normal kind of maintenance that the town is supposed to be doing itself. But I also go to Rob's point about the fact that, studies then lead to something, because I've been sitting in on the Conservation Commission's efforts with the Neponset, and that's going to be, that gets off the ground, that's going to be amazing. And that.
Uh-oh, we lost her.
Froze. And then the Neponset River.
Neponset River. She's frozen in the river. Uh-oh.
All right. Well, if she comes back, we can let her finish her sentence.
She's really excited about the Neponset River.
I'm going to endeavor to try to find out if the select board has voted a recommendation.
I'm sure they have, I would guess. But
Yeah,
my guess
so-
would be they have, right?
Yeah, so I can try to
Did
find.
do they take a vote? Did they take a vote that night, Tom, or no?
They didn't that night, no.
Okay, but but just to recap, the warrant committee
committee did.
unanimously voted in favor of these, and then the select board also takes a vote, or do they usually stay out of that fray? I wonder what they've done in the past, because
Yeah, I don't really recall in the past. I guess we could look at.
so maybe they haven't even voted. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a good thing to look. It's good thing to
I'll
see.
I'll try to look back and also just try to find out. Yeah.
I'm curious too, though, Tom. Let's just say, no, hypothetically, if another board comes up and says, we think we should put let's fund Peverly Park, for instance. They couldn't necessarily do that, right? They can't, or a town meeting member even couldn't come up and say, hey, we want to get rid of this. We want to get rid of your recommendation and we want to fund this. They couldn't necessarily do that, right?
No.
They can't make a substitution, right?
No, it's yes or no vote.
It's a
You
yes or
can't-
no, and that's it. They can't
Right.
make substitutions either. So
No,
Okay.
it's our recommendation to town meeting that goes to the vote. So no, a town meeting, you can't, would have to go back, we'd have to withdraw the article and go back to a meeting of the committee.
And so basically they'd basically just have to sync the whole article, right? Everything that we would recommend, and then it would have to come back.
So that comes to my point about why do we have these other levels of approvals? If we're supposed to make the recommendation to town meeting ourselves, why does warrant committee and select board also have to make their recommendation? It just seems like,
Well, but by tradition,
Multiple layers.
our warrant committee makes a recommendation on every article, right? By tradition,
Right.
right? Does I should know this.
Which is silly, and which is a silly tradition, because they shouldn't be doing that on planning board articles, they shouldn't be doing it on zoning
Right.
articles,
I-
blah, 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 blah.
I concur. I concur.
Everybody's got an attitude.
But is it? I'm embarrassed. I don't know this as a town meeting member, but does the select board issue a recommendation on every article?
it depends on the select board composition and chair, Tom, in my experience.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so it's possible. I'll go back to the tapes in the last couple of years and watch this article and see if the moderator asked for the select board's opinion.
We're the ones who, I mean, according to the statute, we recommend it to the legislative body. I don't see where it says it has to get approved by the select board. I mean, they have the ultimate thing because the select board's in control of the warrant
Right.
itself.
Right.
But there isn't any statutory requirement for the select board.
Right.
Or
Right.
the warrant committee, right? We lost her again.
Yeah. All right, let's do a little homework on this to see what they've done in the last couple of years, just so as part of our preparation for this year. As a number of people have pointed out, it has passed with, I think last year, 1 dissenting vote, the year before 2 dissenting votes or something like that. It's been,
Very minimal.
this year's recommendation is very consistent with our approach in the first 2 years, so I can't imagine town meeting doing anything different than other than approving this, but we'll be prepared and we'll make a presentation and go through one of the things last year was somewhat
Can
controversial.
I make one recommendation? I'm just wondering because it seems like some confusion, Tom, over like the select board or the warrant committee, at least from what we've heard. Could we take like a minute or something to explain the process again to town meeting, just to say, listen, we've done the same process every year where we have these eligibility period, we have a funding period, and then we make a decision on all these applications in the end of December. So I think that may be helpful to just like reiterate.
There's a slide in there. I think if not, I can insert one about our process and our timeline. And I think that's a good suggestion. I don't want to get too defensive
No,
about that,
yeah, not too, but just to like
yeah.
inform people, like, hey, we do have this process and we do it,
Totally,
you know,
totally.
just so people aren't like, hey, they're just kind of
Yep.
going willy-nilly about it.
All right, Jenny?
Well, just whether, I mean, despite whether the requests are warranted or not from these various committees, it's not a bad idea to show up.
Right.
Because it gets the word out and it shows who we are and that we're happy and excited about what we've got before us. And I would say that we should respond to any and every committee that wants to hear about what we do, because it's just good PR.
Yeah.
So I guess the question becomes, if the committee says we don't like your allocations and we think you should put more to parks and less to housing or whatever it is, then what do we do with that? It's one thing if it's informational, but when they're actually taking a vote on whether they support what we're doing and there's no statutory basis for it, I guess the point is just to be clear. If it's informational, we'll take it under advisement, right? But if they don't have it shouldn't have a superseding authority over our recommendations on those boards is my point.
Yeah, I think
Just
it was
to be
just
clear about it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I'm-
But my sense is they just got interested and informed, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, how do you do this? It's like, I want to know more. And it's like,
Yeah.
what, you're allocating how much to who? So,
but I think, you know, the committee over the last 3 years or 4 years, what I will say is it's been a very fair committee where we've tried to do a third, right? And as much as we can. And I think that's easily defendable. Jenny, you know, like this was the statute of the law for the CPC. And to say that we as a board take that same, you know, care in that we go for the third, because that's kind of the mission. You know, that's only my own personal thoughts, but I think, you know, it's easily defendable, you know, to say, hey, we're very equal across the board.
it's all defendable.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on, Tom.
No, I think it was, Jenny just hit on something too. I think we went in with a very positive attitude and tried to overwhelm our questioners with positivity, because we feel really excited. And I know you know, just talking to each of you individually, and you know, we feel excited every year about the projects we're able to fund, and the feedback I personally have gotten from other town meeting members. You know, it's definitely a good news thing in Milton, and we just like to spread the good news more. So to Jenny's point, but so I think Cheryl's, you know, point is a good cautionary point, but I would just say, Cheryl, let's they haven't gone there yet, and so let's not kill them for, you know, there was a sports radio talk show host who used to say, let's not criticize the team for something they haven't done yet. So let's yeah, let's keep keep an eye on all of that, but I think we'll be in good shape. The one thing I was going to say is last year, the first year was an obvious thing, right? Rob asked for it to be out of the consent agenda because we wanted to educate people. We continued that tradition last year, arguable, right? Second year, maybe we didn't have to do it. You know, we pulled it out of the consent agenda. Before all of this happened, my feeling was we should also pull it out of the consent agenda and potentially every year going forward.
Every year we should.
Because it is a good news story.
It's a positive thing.
And it's also, to Jenny's point, a really excellent and unparalleled opportunity to promote the CPA generally and get people thinking about other applications. But is that the consensus of this group, that we should pull it out of the consent agenda again?
Absolutely.
I absolutely
I mean, I think
agree.
it gives us a
Yeah,
great opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, that's,
And
I just
I
wanted to make sure I was on the same
Yeah.
page. I thought,
and I think town meeting members appreciate that
Appreciate it.
report, right? They're like, hey, what are
not
we
if it
doing
comes at
with this
11
usually?
o'clock at night, though.
No, I mean that's true. Yeah,
But-
you're right.
But
But
that, we have no control over that. We have
yeah,
no control. All right. Okay, sounds good. Let's just continue on. The hour is creeping along, so so discussion of temporary and permanent signage on funded projects. I know we have wanted to talk about this. It feels, well, I'll open it up to see what people have to say about this. It feels to me a subcommittee, maybe is the best place to deal with this. This gets fairly detailed on a project by project basis. So let me open the floor for some initial discussion at least. Rob?
yeah, I absolutely think we should start thinking about a permanent signage of especially like large funded projects. I think we want a permanent plaque or something. But I do agree with you, Tom. I think it should be a subcommittee that maybe it's 2 or 3 members on this committee that looks at it. I know we had the signs and whatever that we put in this, but I just don't think it's good enough now that we should look at more permanent funded things. But I think we should make a subcommittee. That is my, suggestion.
Jenny?
I recommend Rob to be head of that subcommittee.
That sounds like an excellent suggestion.
Yes.
All in favor?
By acclamation. So you need you need a member or two, Rob, though.
Yeah.
Any other volunteers? Oh, come on.
No one. Oh, there we go. There's Kathleen
Kathleen.
and Pete.
I'll work it
Kathleen and
out.
Pete. Okay. All right, that's
There you
good.
go.
So Rob, Kathleen, and Pete are the temporary and permanent signage subcommittee.
And
Okay.
just as I suppose, in principle, I would suggest that no project doesn't deserve a sign. Or let me flip that around. Every project deserves a sign.
That's a
Start with
great,
that.
that's, yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's, I think the question is whether it's permanent or temporary. And you can always start with temporary and then make it into a permanent one, depending upon the size of the project or size of the grant, that kind of thing.
Sounds
The
good.
challenge here is going to be, lots of different,
Different types of projects or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
So I think it's going to be trying to figure out like parameters or guidelines so it has a similar look. But the question is like there's many different projects, right? I could imagine the Forbes house for one, right, is something that like once it finally goes, like we'll want a plaque. And so we're going to have to also figure out different projects to do it. One, for instance, I would love to see is the Guile Field LED lighting that should be there like on a stone or something, because that was a huge amount of money that we put towards that. And how many people in the community know that? But if they come there and see it, it would be a good thing. So, we'll have a more discussion and kind of meet and figure out what we would have to do. But there will be probably a number of different guidelines that we'll have to do because of the different projects.
So can you, Rob, and your committee come up with a recommendation for the summer meeting?
Yeah. So the next
With
one
a
would
budget?
be, like
so
a
that
June.
would be, right. Yeah, so I'm developing an agenda for that summer meeting, the reports from previous, discussion about reports from previously funded projects, and setting up a system for that as we talked about. Communications, I put, sort of, websites, that type of stuff, I think would be a good.
Why don't we put it on for the June
signage.
Why don't we do the June 24th meeting to like put it on as agenda item, and then maybe we can meet between the time to get some parameters on.
Well, not the June 24th, man. I think what Jenny was talking about is the unscripted,
Right.
unscripted, although it's starting to get scripted, summer meeting.
Yeah. After those two.
After we get
Yeah,
through
fine.
the eligibility applications, I think
Fine.
we
Yeah.
get more time on that. So,
And
Okay,
just,
that's
just
perfect.
FYI, I did, Julian back me up on this, but we do have signs. There already are some signs left over from the last printing, as I recall. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we still have those signs that I made 3 years ago or whatever that we still put up. Yeah.
have
Okay.
some of them left, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we should still continue to do that. If there's projects in construction or motion, I think we should absolutely continue to put them up, the
Yep.
temporary signs. But I'm more concerned about the permanent signs because I think, you know, the more permanent, you know, plaques and such that we can put in would be good. I just don't know, you know, we'll have to figure out how much these things cost and whatever else. I can't imagine it's a huge fund, but it's going to cost something.
So, all right, so number 9 is, thank you, Kathleen and Pete and Rob for stepping forward on that. Number 9 is the discussion of CPC website page improvements and social media strategy. Let's do a similar thing here in terms of, I wouldn't recommend a subcommittee for this, but I'd like to open it up just to see if there's specific. Julia's made a couple, updates over since the last meeting, based on things that were identified and, updating the timeline and a couple small language changes there. I'm experimenting. We do have a very informal, because no one told me I couldn't do this, but on Instagram at Milton_CPA, we have an Instagram page. And we've put projects up. I'm still kind of amazed that this is how the town operates, but but no one has, told me I can't do that, and I don't think there. Anyways, so right now we have a Milton_CPA that is that I set up, and that I've used some of the slides in the presentation before the warrant committee. I've reposted those, but there's a lot more we could do, obviously, with pictures of projects and all that type of stuff.
Wait till Elon Musk hears about you.
Right. Shut that down. So I would like to put this under the communications agenda item for that July or August meeting, and have a more fulsome discussion of that. And maybe by then we can also get some feedback from, I think I asked Julia this, and there isn't really anybody, but there's no one on town staff that has social media under their purview. Is that correct, Julia?
Yeah, there's a town website. And I'm happy to go take pictures of what's been done for the CBC projects and then post them to the town website. That's what you're looking for.
Right, but it's very decentralized, I guess. It's up to every committee or board on its own to do that, right? There's no central communications staffing.
No, not really, no.
Yeah. Rob?
I'm just thinking here out loud is like, could we do potentially like a video or something that says, what's happened with CPC funds over the last 4 years, and go visit in town any projects that have been successful in the last 4 years. That I think could be influential, where like we could post that out, Tom, to your Instagram, whatever, and just, and I don't know, we would have to think about, we'd have to go through all these projects that have gone out. We funded them and they've been successful. So I think just making a list, and I think it's really important also just to make sure that it is across all the 3 categories too, right? And I think Winter Valley's one that I can think of. What's the historic preservation projects that we've done in town? Has there been any that we've actually completed to date? I know was the town lockup
The
Forward
fence.
path.
the Forbes house and the fence up at the observatory has
Balding
been.
Garden.
Okay. So yeah, like maybe it's the fence at the observatory, and then there's been a number of parks projects that we've completed.
The
Um,
gardens.
Cemetery.
Oh, the gardens. You're right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but how many people actually, that's the thing, right? Is like how many people actually even know about where that garden is. And I think that helps. Maybe someone, if you put that out in the video and we said, hey, go out there and look for it, then maybe it would also give them some publicity to say, hey, this is a garden that people could go visit. So, I think we could do it, and it would be helpful and continue to help the CPC as we continue to fund projects.
Jenny.
I think a video is a great idea, Rob. But I think it's also part of a larger picture that needs to be thought about in terms of the communication writ large of the CPC within the town. And I would recommend that we take some administrative funds and hire a consultant, basically, to help us think about it and to set up some guidelines and to help us do it.
Mm.
Now, I don't know what's the process of doing that. I have no idea within this town body how that works, but I would recommend allocating whatever, I don't know, 10 grand or something, sort of over the next year to think about.
Like a social media group
Yeah.
or whatever that says, hey,
Right.
what
is what you need to do.
social
Right.
media campaign could we do? And then put an RFP out or something and then say, hey, what do we need to do to like advertise
Exactly.
this?
With
I think
people
it's a
who
good
have
idea.
photographers on hand and all kind of stuff. So to keep it sort of rolling.
Yeah. I mean, I like that idea. I don't know what others think, but I hiring people is a good way to get it, that it's
It's
done
done.
and it doesn't go on
Mm.
ours and get it forward.
Yep. My only, well, let me call on Wendy and then we can come back to Wendy.
Thanks, Tom. Georgia Lee, who was the applicant from the Milton Garden Club about the garden that we funded, she actually did quite a lot of social media outreach about the progress of the project and beautiful pictures and nice write-ups that she did on the various different media outlets. We could maybe use that like as a template. And frankly, I feel like we should also specifically ask that of our applicants. If they're not able to manage the technical aspects of the social media accounts, then at the least they could do is provide us with the write-up of what they would like to see posted and the photographs. Certainly a way to save some money and make sure that it gets done. But I think it might be worth digging back through some of the Milton media postings and seeing what Georgia did. She did a really nice job, I have to say. And I believe that was something that we specifically asked of her to do because we were concerned about the visibility of
That's
the
right.
garden and the project.
Was that most, I think that's right, Wendy. Was that mostly on Facebook or on like the Milton Garden Club's Facebook page, or do you know where that was posted? Because
She did it both as the Milton Garden Club Facebook page and website, as well as a newsletter. But more importantly, she did it also for the town-wide media things.
Like everything Milton and Milton neighbors and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That it would be good to maybe research some of the archival stuff and take a look at that because that we had no way to amplify that in the past. So
right.
And in terms of our own channels, but that's a really good point.
I'll dig it up and send you guys the link.
One question I have, Tom, is at least for people that could do this, there's a local company, Jackrabbit. I don't know if any one of you guys know. They do my business's website. They are a Milton business, and this is exactly what they do. They do social media, websites, all that stuff. And so they might be an outfit that they look for, but I don't know. The question is like, do you put this out to if the committee wants to do something like this, do they go out and look for like an RFP and put it out to people? Or is that something that we could just do the research on to figure out if we want someone to help us with social media and advertisements and whatnot?
Yeah,
I
Another
am happy.
subcommittee.
I think if
Okay.
it's under a certain dollar amount, we can do it without an RFP, but go ahead. Who was, somebody was just talking.
It's me, Julia.
Julia, yep.
I'm happy to go take pictures of what's been done and post them to social media. And you know, put the sign out there and you know, show whoever wants to see it what we've been doing.
Great.
Wendy?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to keep my hand up. But
Oh, okay. Sorry.
but I'm just thinking, I mean, Julia, your time is it's so valuable. Wouldn't it be easier and faster for us just to send an email out to our applicants and ask them to send you a picture? I'm sure they all have them at their disposal.
They don't, though. That's been the frustrating part of this, is that I've been constantly trying to get feedback on the status of certain projects, and nothing has come of it. So if I can just go take a picture of whatever's been accomplished and then post it to social media, I think that would be a good way to go forward with this.
Wow.
I think, Wendy, you're
gotta
being
say-
optimistic that you're being optimistic that people are going to send in pictures.
Honestly, I cannot imagine somebody receiving grant money not responding to a request from a grant administrator like that. It just blows my mind. As I'm sitting here, like, you know, writing my own report for a grant for work. Like, what? Why don't people do this?
I'm just curious, like, Pete, you might have a better handle on it, is like with our administrative funds that we set aside every year with 5%, there's no way we use that 5%, right? We only use like a minute amount of it.
Yeah, about 50% last year.
Okay. So I don't know. My own feeling, because I have my own business, is we often look at these things and say, hire somebody, right? We're like, listen, hire somebody and get it and run it off because you know it's going to be done. And I think you could probably do it for a decent amount. It wouldn't cost like a tremendous amount, but then they're a hired gun that, like, I think a video, because, like, you know, doing a video that's more professionally shot and doing some of the branding, I personally think that that's a good way to go about it, but you know, I'm curious what others think.
Yeah, I think I mean I like the hired gun approach too. My concern about it is how much we can get for what we're willing to spend, which is probably not a high dollar figure. You know, if we, you know, a $10,000 contract, I don't know what that buys you in the communication space, for its, you know, just to make up a number. And what I'm concerned about it a little bit is they come in and make these recommendations that we can't maintain, with volunteer labor necessarily. So it's a investment in more spending.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
maybe we want to do that. I'm not actually prejudging this. I think it might be a worthwhile investment, certainly, and goes to the previous conversations we've had about communications, letting people know around town, letting people feel proud of what we're able to fund here. But I mean, maybe we bring a Jackrabbit in for an exploratory conversation, initially, to say, this is our challenge. You know, we get zero help from professionals
Right.
on the town side. And you know, communications professionals. Obviously we get a lot of help from Julia, but you know, just you know, it's amazing to me that we have you know, whatever our budget is, and we have no one dedicated to town communications, basically. It just, that's that's just astounding.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the one plus to that is right is like a Jackrabbit. I think inviting them in, if we wanted to do that, is
Yep.
like they also are a hometown. Like the guy who owns it
Yeah.
lives
Yeah,
in Milton,
absolutely.
so he
Absolutely.
also has an he has an
Yeah.
interest because this is
Oh.
in Milton. So I don't know.
Yep. All right. Wendy has her hand up, and Pete has. Wendy.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. So Pete.
Well, two things. The idea of having somebody like Jack Rabbit come in and just talk to us a little bit about, communications recommendation for somebody like us is a good one. The other thing is, Tom, you could set up another subcommittee to talk about communication strategies and the things that we might want to in preparation for getting together with like a Jackrabbit or something. I
Yep.
think we can, for under $10,000, we can just go hire somebody. We don't have to put out an RFP or something like that.
I agree.
I don't know if that's going to be sufficient, but I think if a couple members wanted to get together and kind of come up with some ideas about communication strategies that we might consider,
Yep.
I think that'd be a good
Yeah.
good way to go.
Rob,
Personally, I don't think 10,000, I think that's a good amount of money. I'm reasonable too, where like, I would hate to see it be more than that, but it's worth at least making an introduction or whatever and asking them. And maybe you scale it back, say, this is what we would want. I'm just thinking personally, like a video could go a long way if you put it up on
Yes.
social media
Yes.
or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And it was
Definitely.
professional, then I think that could hit a lot of eyes.
Yeah, video is where it's at right now on social
Right.
media. And I agree with you, Rob. I think that could be a really powerful tool for us to continue to promote it. Rob, can you make an introduction for
Yeah.
me with the Jackrabbit?
Yeah,
local
absolutely.
person at
Yeah, I
Jackrabbit?
know the owner and everyone. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
no problem.
Cheryl.
I just wanted to mention that one of the committees, and I'm trying to remember if it was the Climate Action Planning Committee or the Local Historic District Study Committee, but on the town website, they had a link to a separate website where they had, they could control like what it
Right.
looks like, what it feels like, kind of
Yeah.
content better. And I'm wondering if we want to think about that, and that's something we could speak to Jackrabbit about.
I think that's an excellent idea.
It's hard, right, though, because like we want it to be when you go to the town of Milton, you have a website there, but then what you're suggesting, Cheryl, is like you have another website outside of it, right?
Well, you would have a link on the town website that would
Right.
take you to that one.
Yeah,
Because the
for a
towns is
specific
hard to
thing, you would still,
navigate.
Right.
right, but you would still have
Town
certain.
its website. Sorry,
Right.
Tom.
No, that's all right. We keep
No.
talking it over.
Yeah.
You would still have certain basic things on the town website. Matter of fact,
Right.
a lot of the legally obligated things, but maybe for the beauty, you click off the town websites for the
Yeah.
video, for the,
Right.
the pictures Julia is talking about, and all that type of stuff
Yeah.
that really tells the story in a little more accessible way.
So all things we can consider. I just know that what's going to come with an outside website and all that is
Yes.
a bigger cost,
Yes.
right? I know because we're going to go through this right now with my own business, and we're looking out, and it's
Totally.
guys, we're talking about $100,000 or something to go out to do their own, to redo websites and whatnot. So, just something to consider. But I could see doing video or like social media. I think that would be more reasonable.
Yep. All right, so Rob's gonna send me introduction. Yeah, Linda, I'll get you in a second. I was gonna ask if anybody would like to come with me to have just an informal meeting initially with the Jackrabbit people. Okay, Jenny, thank you. We can just have an initial conversation or a cup of coffee and just explore things, and then come back to this group with.
You guys know where they are, right? They're
Yes.
literally right in East Milton there. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So Linda?
I guess the concern that comes up is that then we have to take into consideration the idea that it needs to be maintained, that this is not just a one-shot deal,
Yes.
but that we will
Yes.
need to keep something in our budget to maintain this in the future as well.
No, I think we have to be cognizant of that. That's a very good point. Very good
Yeah,
point.
especially if it's a website or something, then you've
Right,
got like maintenance. So we
Yep.
got to be careful about that, but.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, good. All right, I think we have a good plan in there. Communication with select board for length of time of terms for CPC members. So I asked to put this on the agenda. So we were all appointed last year under false pretenses. We are in violation. The appointments we received from the select board were in violation of our bylaws. And the bylaw that set up the Milton CPC. We were supposed to have staggered terms so that no more than a third of this committee could turn over in any given year. Right now, all of our terms are ending in June of 2025. That is not appropriate or consistent with our bylaws or good practice. Not to mention good practice. So I don't think the select board did that nefariously. I think they were unaware of that. But we need to communicate that to the select board. Obviously tomorrow's the election, so we should wait till there's a new select board seated, but that we won't have to wait too long on that. And then I guess I would propose just a simple letter that I could draft to go to the select board informing them of this, and I'm not sure how we get back on the track, but I guess we have a third of us appointed for 1 year, a third of us appointed for 2 years, and a third of us appointed for 3 years going forward.
So can you just, I'm curious because we have 3 town representative, is it 3 or 2? 3 town representatives and then 6 boards that are representative.
Right.
So I guess what I'm curious about, because, you know, I just got back on the committee again, right? And I don't know how long that term is, but you know, the Parks Board voted, and I would imagine other boards are going to have to vote for their members as well, Tom, as we go through. And does that happen yearly, or does it happen? I'm curious what happens that way. And then I'm also curious because the town, the select board appoints the other 3, and those were different terms, I thought. So I guess I just don't know.
It might be just the 3 citizen members, as we call them. Those have to be staggered terms. But somehow the planning board, the Affordable Housing Trust, the Parks and Rec, I think technically they had terms too. They had,
I think there were 3-year initial terms, but now we're in our 4th year. So that's the other big thing.
But isn't the Affordable Housing Trust isn't a statutory member of the CPC?
It is actually.
It is actually, I think.
Did they amend the
No, not the state statute,
Oh,
Kathleen.
okay. That's what I was thinking.
When Milton passed the bylaw,
Oh, okay. Right.
the Affordable Housing Trust got added in as a sixth guaranteed seat.
Yeah, because I knew we weren't in the state one.
Correct.
So it says 3 years, Tom. So we're in our 4th year. So when they redid everyone's last year, was that another 3-year term?
No, they did everybody for a 1-year term.
Okay.
The select board did. So I might need some legal help on this, Kathleen.
All right. Let me take a look.
To help draft a letter to the select board, but I think with everybody's permission, I would like to just communicate that to the select board going forward, so that in July or whenever they're making the new appointments, we kind of get off on the right start here.
So we also have 1 vacancy, right? Because Joe Duffy will be moved off, so we're going to have 1 vacancy. Yeah,
Housing Authority will have to name a replacement, right?
But then does every board, I guess there's 6 of them, do they vote every year to put another representative on or whatever? You're saying not to do that because that's bad for the board. Like, that's not great for the board. You need some continuous people.
We should get into a habit that everybody's got a 3-year term, I agree. Yeah.
I agree.
But we're going to have to move to that by having some 1-year terms, some 2-year terms, and some 3-year terms initially. So
That makes
So
sense.
Tom, you'll have to think about that too, because planning board's 3-year term, which would mean that the member would have to join the first year and stay on that each year.
well,
The planning board votes every year for the committee
They do.
appointments.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Affordable Housing Trust, I think, just voted once to appoint me, and I don't think has I don't know. I can't remember. Actually, I shouldn't say that. But anyways, we need to
Shouldn't we also take stock in where we all are at on our terms or whatever?
well, everybody
Everybody
has 1 year and that's it.
I'm not
everybody's
sure.
up in a couple months.
Yeah, that's not great.
Just because that's the way the select board did it last time. So I'm just saying we should correct that error. I'll work with Kathleen if she's willing to, and try to draft something to get ready for
Yeah.
select board, and communicate that. Pete.
Since the people that are the 6 people who are representing boards, and it's up to the board, I don't think they have to get terms. They just, the board, appoints who they want to, and whether they do it, appoint Rob and he's on it until they tell him they don't want him to do it anymore. Or
Yeah,
whether every year they've got to vote, I don't know. It seems to me.
Oh, we just have to look and see what, that would be right if it was the statute, Phil, but I don't know what what we have in our bylaw, whether that makes it any different.
As far as
So I have to read that.
Yeah,
So it would seem to me that
look at
the
it.
3 that are appointed by the select board, maybe those are staggered terms or something. I
Yes.
know when we started, my term was different than everybody else's
Yeah.
for some reason.
Right.
Well,
I
you
think-
had
I think-
2 years and then the other 2
We
had
started
1.
out with staggered terms the first year
Right.
when I
Right.
was chair.
We
Yeah.
did.
That's right.
We did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And
that's
then-
where it makes sense, because if you're a citizen, you can just, it's nice because you may not be elected on, it may not change over. I think that might be something that we should consider.
And I think that last year my term carried over, and Julia, you could check that because you've got everybody's terms figured out somewhere. So I thought mine was on a different schedule than everybody else, but maybe Julia can look into that.
Who's the other citizen?
Me.
Oh, it's Kathleen. Kathleen, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The zoning board of appeals doesn't have a member? I'm
No.
kidding. I'm
Thank
kidding.
God.
Why? We don't care.
And
Jenny.
Do whatever
sorry,
you
sorry.
want.
And I guess concerning the citizen representatives, it's not clear how we are elected or rotate either. Despite the terms, it's like at some point those should be open positions, right?
Well,
Right,
well,
and they were. I
But then
applied for this.
right.
I
Has there
applied.
been, I'm just curious.
You applied to who?
I
Well,
applied to the select board
Right.
as a volunteer.
The bylaws do set that out. The select board gets to appoint the citizen representatives, the 3 citizens representatives. So, but they should just not appoint all 3 every
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
The
no,
same
no, I
here.
get that.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
At this time, I think, Tom, it would be good to do one every year, right? To do a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year term so that
Yes.
it's
yes.
staggered over those 3. That makes sense.
So, yeah. So, right. Jenny gets a 1-year term, Pete gets a 2-year term, Kathleen gets 3, or vice versa. Yeah.
Or whatever we do.
The other way around.
Yeah, but does the select board then, I mean, do they have an open recruitment process for the 3 slots? I mean, that process isn't clear.
Well, that's
Well, it's the same as it is for all the
Any
all the
boards.
boards and commissions in the town.
they should, but I don't think we can dictate that to them. I mean, we
It was
can-
one of the questions from the warrant committee is like, how do you guys, how do we ensure representation,
They should
diversity,
be asking the
diversity of
select board that.
diversity of representation on the committee?
So the select board, the select board's office has a form, an online form that people can fill out, and they can express which board or committee they'd be interested in joining. And then one opening occurs, they let the chair of the committee know that there's these folks. The chair would then, when the chair knows there's an opening, chair can go to the select board's office and say, do you have anybody who's already expressed interest in this committee? Is the way it's been done in the past.
So what's
They
Rich
were-
Beeler doing on this
So
list?
even this is old, right? Because you have Teddy Carroll, Rich Bueller. Yeah,
This is not an accurate list.
this is old. Yeah,
It's a year, yeah, December 23.
yeah, right.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll take a look at the bylaw.
Okay. Thank you, Kathleen. All right, let's, the last, no, let's see, a couple things, review of the bylaws, actually. Jenny, I think asked to put this on. I don't know. Obviously, one of the reasons for this was this item we just discussed, the review of the bylaws, but I think it triggered Jenny, if I remember our discussion. Maybe we should just review the bylaws in general to see if there's anything else that's not being followed the way the bylaws set it out. But Jenny, I don't want to speak for you, but was that your thought?
I can't remember I think it was relative to the terms. I'm sure it was, but if there's something.
That was what triggered it, but I didn't know
Yeah.
if you thought
Yeah. No, I think that was it.
or full. Okay, all right, that's what I thought. And then CPA plan updates. So Julia circulated the updated CPA plan. We finally made some progress. Rob, I wanted to thank because he downloaded a whole bunch of both photos and tables and charts that were in the original plan so that we could put them up, obviously
Get them updated.
we're reusing some of them, but not some of them need to be updated. So I've gotten some really good edits from Jenny and from I think Pete.
Yeah, I think Pete did too.
Pete and Jenny. And historically, Wendy and Linda have looked at it. So I think at this point, most people have looked at it. Cheryl and Rob, if you have any, and Kathleen, if you have any final edits, I think we're ready to put it to bed.
Can you send, like, have you made the draft with these updates in from Jenny and Pete?
I was waiting for tonight or in the aftermath of tonight. So I did not put Pete because I need to ask Eileen to do this. My wife, Eileen.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of pro bono contributions.
Because it's in InDesign.
It's in design. It's
right.
in InDesign.
That's how I did it.
A graphic design software.
Right.
Eileen is a graphic designer, fortunately, so she's been helping me make these edits. So I didn't want to ask her to make some edits that then again we'd have to go. So I want to just bring all the edits to her and make them all at one time. So we've made some progress. I think Pete and Jenny's suggestions were great. So I'm just last call for, like if you don't have any further edits by the end of the week, we're gonna put this to bed, basically.
Well, could we, I guess what I'm asking, Tom, is can you ask Eileen to put in Pete's and Jenny's recommendations and then send it back out to us to review it one last time, and then we put it to bed by our next meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my plan to do that, but this is just a call for people that might feel like they haven't had one last crack at it to give me any final edits that we could include in that final draft.
Hey, Tom, Wendy has her hand up.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yeah. I just wanted to let you know, I had also sent you edits to the open space section.
Yes, those are already in there. Those are already in there.
From March 17th.
From March 17th?
Yeah, that's when I sent them to you.
He included them.
I'm 100% they're in there, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure that you had received them.
Yes. Oh, I received them and I appreciated them, and they're in the draft that currently exists.
Great. Thank you.
So Tom, is that the one in the folder that has the title 2025.04.15 TC CPA plan? There's
I don't-
another one, 2025 CPA plan _TC.
I don't have it in front of me, but there's two of them? is
There's
what-
two files. I guess, sorry, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will try to look at it, but I'm just, to save myself time, is one of those more current than the other? That's my question.
It's a good question. I don't know if Julia, you have it in front of you.
It looks like there were two from April 15th that were uploaded.
Mhm.
Is there a difference between the two, Julia, that you know of?
I think they were. I'm trying to remember. I think that they were the same. I'll have to go back and check on them, but if they were the same, if they were dated the same, at the same time, then they were the same.
Yeah, they should have been the same. So it's under CPA plan, right?
Yeah,
In the
CPC
folder.
Yeah, CPA plan.
Mhm.
I don't know what that little blue icon thing means for the first one. The blue tick marks.
I don't see the blue tick marks, but
Oh,
I think that's for new.
Yeah, it is.
no. So maybe that's the newest.
just trying to quickly look at them to see. If I can didn't know any difference. I think those are. I'll have to take another look at it one day, but I think that's the same document. But yeah, I mean, I'll send an email around after I review it, but I'm pretty there wasn't an update within the same day. So I think for some reason they got named twice, but I'll take a closer look at that and communicate that back to the committee. Excuse me.
Tom, in terms of the audience for this, that was one thing I was sort of trying to figure out as I was reading through it. I was, okay, who was likely to read this?
I think I've been impressed that over the last 3 years, applicants read it.
Mhm.
Many applicants have referred to the plan in their applications. And just an informal conversation, people have told me they've read it, so I think that's the primary audience is the applicants. There's potentially other audiences, obviously, too, but I think it's hopefully helpful for the applicants, but. So what's a reasonable, this is a busy time of year. I know we have an election tomorrow and we have lots of stuff going on with MBTA communities and whatever, but so I don't want to be unreasonable about this, but this has obviously been hanging out there for a long time, and I want to bring it to a successful conclusion and have an approved plan at our next meeting. So
Well, you're only missing sort of anything, the final sign off from me and one other person.
I think
Everybody else has already looked at it.
Yeah.
Cheryl, Kathleen, and Rob are the three I haven't, and it's fine,
And I started to look, I mean, I didn't have anything major,
Yeah,
so,
okay,
yeah.
It's
Okay.
perfect, Tom.
it's perfect. That's what I want to hear, Rob. That's exactly what I hear. this will be the bane of my.
I mean, I was okay with it. I didn't really have any major
Okay,
things.
Okay.
Same.
Well, I can take a
so-
last look and say, oh yeah, okay, fine.
So
Yeah.
if people could take a last look, but by this week, basically, by the end of the week,
Yeah.
and then we'll do some of the final edits next week, and it'll be ready for official vote at our first meeting of the year. Our first, not meeting of the year.
June.
Oh, the first meeting of the June. So,
Tom,
all right.
And I looked at the bylaws, and the committees appoint their own people for 3 years, and so the select board only has to deal with the three of us who don't have titles.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
got to be hard though, right? Like, so the question is, if the committees do the 3-year appointments, there could be some members that leave,
Well, that happened
Right?
to me. I was
Right,
the chair
right,
because I was on the
right,
planning
right.
board, and
And
then
then
I
you
didn't
were
get
off, you were
reelected.
off, right.
But the committee appoints the next person.
Right. Yeah, it's
So
on them.
not-
It's on them.
Yeah.
On that,
It's
so
on
they,
them.
they can
On
fill
them.
they can fill the vacancy.
They fill the
Right.
vacancy.
Right. So
Yeah.
you could so that makes sense. So you get 3 years, and then if that person leaves, then the committee comes up. They don't have to do it every
Right.
year.
No.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. So the only thing we have to address is the three of us who are citizens members who needed to have been appointed for staggered terms. And
I
so
guess
that's
so the letter is pretty simple to
Yeah.
the select board. It's like appoint one of them for 1 year, one of them for 2 years.
Well, no, the way it goes is that 3 members are appointed, 2 members to be appointed for initial term of 1 year and thereafter for a term of 3 years, and 1 member to be appointed for initial term of 2 years and therefore after a term of 3. Which makes no sense. I don't
What?
know who drafted this, but there you go.
That makes no sense.
That makes-
So I get appointed for a year and for initial term of a year,
right,
and
but that was
then
wasn't that the original appointment, Kathleen?
who knows? It says initial term of 1 year, and then thereafter for a term of 3 years. So they should have said like the first year of the CPA, I would have been appointed for a year and then reappoint, then again another 3 years.
Right.
Right.
But that's not what it says.
Yeah.
So we just need better language, right?
Well, that's a change in the bylaw, which means an act of town meeting.
Town meeting vote, no.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, we're
Yes.
not gonna do that.
No.
it's not going to happen in time.
Right. So, but if they appoint all of you for 3 more years, we have no staggering.
Well, as I said, they said 2 of us for a year and then thereafter they get 3. And then 1 member is for 2 years and thereafter for 3. So only 2 people, it's 2 and 1.
And we're doing
This
a
is
little
staggered.
bit of staggering. There's a
But
little-
but to be honest, couldn't we add to we know there's going to be a June town meeting? Isn't there proper time to put
no,
it there?
no.
No, we don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
We don't want to touch
Okay.
it.
Okay. Don't touch it.
I think we just ask them to appoint
Just
for
stay
3
with
years
it.
because
Yeah.
there's 9 people, so even though the citizen people are on the same term, everybody else can shift,
Yeah.
as per their,
So
It does-
it's
their
you,
committees.
me and Jenny, right? You,
Yes.
me and
Yeah.
Jenny?
We
Yeah.
still should be staggered. I think the 3 of us should be staggered too.
I agree.
Yeah.
Should be
I'm
1,
staggered
2,
all
and
the
3.
time, but yeah.
Too.
I'm staggered at the end of these meetings.
All right, it's 9:04. We're all staggered right
We're all
now.
staggered.
I'm a Fairfield University grad, so I'm a stag by nature.
Oh, my goodness.
I move we adjourn.
Wait, before we do, I want to know about Wendy's cat.
Offline.
This cat has been all over you.
I know. He's
What's the cat's name?
His name is Tuna.
Tuna. That's a great name.
Yeah. Yeah. And
We've been entertained all meeting long, by the way.
oh my God, I'm so glad that you have, because it's really annoying. But I mean, he's 14 years old. He's kind of a smelly little old man. So I just kind of let him have his way, but he's very
Alright.
sweet.
Nice.
Glad
Alright,
he could join
so-
us. Glad he could join us.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second. So I'm gonna go around the table. Wendy, motion to
Yes.
adjourn.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, Jenny,
Yes, and tuna too.
Rob,
Yes, bye tuna. Good night, tuna.
Kathleen. Kathleen,
You're
Yes.
on mute.
Pete,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Linda.
Yes, and everybody look up Schrodinger's cat. It's an assignment for next time.
All right.
I
Bye,
voted
everybody.
as
See
well.
Bye.
everybody in
Bye.
June.
Thank
Good
you.
luck
everyone.
tomorrow,
Good-
everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
meeting.
Everybody, take care.